Okay, hey guys, so today I wanted to do kind of a palette cleansing a little bit. I did this almost, I want to say about a year ago, but I really didn't get rid of any of my palettes because I feel like palettes are one of like my favorite things to get. They're one of my favorite things to like look through on Sephora, and I think it's something like, unlike foundation and blush, it's something that can really change your look. Like if you get a new eyeshadow or something, it can really change the way you feel about something. Like it change the way you look, I would say. Anyways, let's get started. I have a lot of palettes. Unlike everything else, palettes are definitely one of my favorite things to have. So let's get started. And for this video, I'm just going to go back and forth between new palettes, palettes I like, palettes that didn't work out for me, and etc, etc. So I was going to start with the older palettes that I have, and these are the TooFaced Christmas palettes from last year. And honestly, the packaging sold me on this one for sure. It came in a little box like this, and this is what really sold me. And it opens up. I have all my little like oils in there, so I'll just leave those like that. But anyways, the palettes open up and they have these really cute colors, names, and blush combo in there. However, the colors just don't really like draw me, and I think it's the way that this packaging is set up that I just don't feel drawn to it. And the colors are already honestly in a lot of like TooFaced palettes already, such as the TooFaced Chocolate Bar or the TooFaced what's it called? Shoot. The Bonbons palette. Anyways, so I think I'm going to pass these on to a friend. I think they can get a lot more use out of them before the makeup starts going bad. Eyeshadow palettes you can keep around for 2 years, so I'm going to keep these and give them to a friend. So hopefully they like them a little bit better than I do, and maybe they'll have a little less of a collection and actually can use these. Sticking with the TooFaced vibes, the next palette I have here is a ride or die classic for many people, and this is the TooFaced Chocolate Bar palette. For me, the neutral eyeshadows have gotten really old, honestly. I've gotten to the point where I have my favorite like mattes for the crease, and now I'm just looking for kind of pops of color. But I think this will always be a classic standby. For one, that it smells like chocolate, like everyone has ever stated. And for two, I really like this matte white shade and the shimmer shade down here. I think that those two, and also, like many people have said, the salsa caramel for a blending crease shade is like amazing. And if you want to go, and if you want a palette for everyday kind of neutral shades and for work, this is kind of like my go-to palette, especially if I want it to last all day and I don't want to take a bunch of time blending and a bunch of time deciding on colors. So that is this one. Obviously I'm keeping that one in case you weren't sure. The next palette I have is the Revealed Smoky palette, and I believe I got this in a BoxyCharm. And honestly, I've tried this palette a few times, and the colors just don't do it for me, and the blendability just isn't there. So I think I'm going to throw this away, and I don't even think I'm going to give this to a friend, because I don't think a friend doesn't deserve this nice palette. This not so nice palette. So anyways, the colors are there. It's just kind of chalky and not as blendable as you would like. But I mean, it is a cheaper palette, so it is that. But I think there are cheaper options out there that are just as nice quality. But I will be throwing this one away. Palette we have is one of my absolute ride or dies, and as you can see, it has been torn up. I love these shadows because they're super blendable and they're really creamy. And a lot of people say there is kickback, so usually what I do is do eyeshadow first and then go into foundation and concealer. But this one is nice because you have a lot of like basic colors, but you also have these shimmers that create a lot of different looks, and a lot of times I like to mix up the crease and then just do a pop of lid shade, like a shimmery color on top, and this is like the perfect eyeshadow palette for that. Some of the unique shades in here are the Garnet, which is this rusty red brown, this light matte white pink that actually shows a pink on my lids, which is a first, and then also these nude and champagne shimmer colors are absolutely gorgeous on the lid. So obviously keeping this one, it is getting kind of old, so I might have to repurchase a new one, but I wouldn't be too upset about repurchasing it. So there is that one. The next one we have is kind of a newer one to me. This is by Blinc Cosmetics, and it is the Electric Eyes palette. And honestly, it is really, really pretty. The shimmers on here are gorgeous. There is no matte crease shade to blend it out, but like I said, I have a bunch of matte crease shades, and this is just fun to pop on the lid. But these do have a lot of fallout, so I always want to do foundation after them. But I did a look with this one, and I've also done a look with these two as well, and they're both really pretty. Another makeup palette, or makeup palettes that I've gotten from BoxyCharm are the two Studio Makeup ones. Oh my god. The first is in more of a purpley kind of mauve-y shades, and I actually really like this one, and I find that these shades are kind of more unique. So I'm going to be keeping this one. The colors are pretty blendable, but the darker shades kind of all blur together, I will say that. But for highlights and everything, it's pretty nice. The second one is kind of more of a bronzy shade, and honestly, this one is also nice quality. However, the shades are really, really similar to a lot of other eyeshadow palettes that I have, so I will be passing this one on to a friend because I haven't used this one that much, and it just kind of sits in my drawer, especially if I'm not excited about a palette or if I'm not really looking for a specific shade in a palette. I won't really reach for it, so that's the problem with this. Next palette we have is one of my absolute favorites, and it's the Urban Decay Electric palette. I don't think you could do anything to make me get rid of this one. Sorry, I just won't. Even though the colors are kind of crazy, they're really bold and honestly very pigmented. And if you wanted to go for a crazy look, this is the palette I would recommend. And they've come out with like the full spectrum. It's not as good. This one is the one you need. I've had this one for a few, I think about a year or two, a year and a half. And for Halloween, this is like my go-to eyeshadow. Like if any look, like Harley Quinn, Enchantress, Poison Ivy, they all used this one. And it's one of my favorites, so I will always keep this. And I think even when it goes bad, I'll still keep it because it's so pretty. So there's that one. And sticking with the Urban Decay vibes, I have the Naked Urban Decay, and this one is the first eyeshadow palette that I ever, or the first high-end eyeshadow palette that I ever purchased. So this has to be at least like 5 years old, but I've kept it just for the sake of like, because it's my original palette. It's the first one that I ever really spent money on, so. But the colors are really nice, and you can make a lot of different looks. The only complaint that I think a lot of people have is there's not enough matte shades. The only matte kind of crease shade are Buck and Naked right here. they're nice, but you need more for the looks. So anyways, this one will always be in my makeup collection, and I think it'll be in a lot of people's makeup collections. So the next eyeshadow palette I have is the Too Faced Natural Matte, and this is also sticking along the lines of one of the first eyeshadow palettes I've gotten. These are really creamy, but like I've said, these neutral shades can be like a dime a dozen. Like, you can find these shades just about anywhere, so I don't think they're like super fancy, but I did use the hell out of Heaven and Lace Teddy over here. And even Cashmere Bunny is a really nice creamy crease shade. But I think I'll always keep this one around. One, because it's too old to give to a friend, and two, it's just kind of like a collector's like beginner palette that I've always had, so it stays. And this palette, oh my god, I feel like everyone talked about this, and this is the reason I bought it. Like, but do you see? It has been barely touched. Like I said, neutral shadows just do not get me going. Like, I'm just not excited by this. So I think I'm gonna give this to a friend that actually prefers neutral shades and may actually get some use out of this before it does end up going bad. So I will pass this on. They are blendable, they are creamy, but the colors just don't pop. Like, they just blend out. You have like one specific look, or you just like have a little bit smoky versus like really smoky. Like, it's just a smoky brown eye. Like, that's what you're gonna get. Or like some black liner underneath. So it's a nice palette, but I think you can do better. I think we can do better. Next palette I have is the Cargo Around the World palette. And I didn't expect to like this palette as much as I did. But honestly, the shades are really blendable, and you can do kind of like a gray smoky eye, you can do a brown neutrals, you can do a shimmery kind of light look, and it just blends out very nicely. And I think this palette's pretty nice quality, and I'm going to be doing a giveaway coming up soon with this palette. So if you guys are interested, stay tuned and you'll be finding out more very soon. The next palette we got is the Lorac Pro Palette. And this one honestly is a little bit sentimental to me because my boyfriend did actually buy this for me. And the colors, I thought they were going to be a little bit more pigmented than they were. But to me, it's kind of like a wash of color versus like a really pigmented shade. So you kind of want to build them up if you want an actual like bright pop-in look. But you can make it happen. And I think that the looks can be really pretty. I especially like the blueberry scone, the lavender here, the gluten-free shade, and also the shade Smoothie. So kind of like the purpley shades. But I think this palette is perfect for spring and summer with the pastels. So obviously I'll keep it because it's close to my heart. But anyways, so that's this one. I would say I wouldn't really recommend it, but for me, I will keep it. The next palette I have is the Urban Decay Shadow Box. And this is one of the cheaper Urban Decay palettes that I have. It's supposed to be some of their most like signature eyeshadows, and cohesively the palette doesn't make sense. Like, you can't make a look out of just these eyeshadows. But if I want to go in for just like a pop of color with like Free Love, Flash is really pretty, Sin, which is like Urban Decay Classic, or Baked Cowboy is also one of Urban Decay's classics. This is really nice, but as far as creating a full look, you can't really do that. But like I said, I'm kind of to the point where I have my crease shades and I'm just looking for an extra pop of color, and that's what this one gives me. So it's a definite keeper for me, so I'm keeping it. The next one we got is also pretty new to me as well. I just got this about 2 months ago in a BoxyCharm. And the colors are kind of, like I've said, kind of Like, they're pretty, but they're mostly all shimmers except these 2 shades right here. So you're always going to have a similar kind of crease shade, and then you're just going to switch out the lid color. So I will keep it to give it more of a try and actually see how I like it. Maybe I'll do a tutorial and see how it goes. But so far I'm kind of like, it's there. It happens. It's a thing. So the next 2 palettes that I have are both from Tarte. This one is brand new, just got in a BoxyCharm, and it's what I'm actually wearing on my lids today. The colors are actually really creamy and very blendable. I thought, I just feel, like I said, that with these limited amount of crease shades that you are kind of left lacking like multiple different looks that you can get from an eyeshadow palette. But like I said, that's my opinion, and it comes with a few different looks. So it looks like there's like a smoky brown, a smoky black, and kind of another smoky brown. So like I said, pretty eyeshadows, creamy, blendable, but they don't inspire me, like I said. But for getting it in a BoxyCharm for only $21 with 4 other products, it's a good deal. So I can't really complain too much. Next Tarte palette is also from my boyfriend. He's so sweet. Sometimes he gets me makeup, but this one was a definite winner for me. It's basically one crease shade, which works for all of these, and then the rest are all shimmers that you can put on the lid, and they're really stunning. Like, surprisingly, usually I don't like Tarte shades, but for these shimmery shades, they're really pigmented and really pretty. I think you may need to dip into some other shades for some crease colors, but all in all, this is a really nice go for Tarte, and I really like them. I'm not gonna lie, like, I'm keeping it. I'm terrible. I've only gotten rid of like four palettes, but it's hard to let go, okay? Next one we have is a TooFaced chocolate bonbons, and I feel like this is one of the first palettes that got me into tutorials and making videos, because I was so inspired. I love like the pink shades, the burgundy kind of like reddish shades, the bluish teals, the purple. Now the purple and the teal aren't as pigmented as I would like, and neither are the pinks, but the packaging, the cuteness factor, and that it's pink, and that the brown shades are blendable, I will keep it. But I wouldn't recommend it to a friend if they were starting out. This isn't my favorite eyeshadow palette, and it wouldn't be my top pick. So, if that says anything about this one. So, moving on. Now, these palettes are something I would 100% all recommend to you guys. So, pay attention. The first one I feel is a lot of people's favorite, and it's the Anastasia Beverly Hills Modern Renaissance palette. And the colors are just romantic. Like, there's the reds, there's the orange. It's got the fall kind of summery vibes that you just love. And then these two shimmers right here just make your eyes pop. Like, I have green eyes and they just make my eyes pop. And the red ochre and the Venetian red, which are these two shades down here, those are like one of my favorite shades to kind of blend out under the eye. and they're just really creamy, pigmented, and blendable. I can't speak too much on the Subculture palette. I went into Ulta to like swatch it and everything, and I thought the shades were pretty creamy, but the colors on them and just the way that it was laid out just wasn't inspiring me, so I just decided to pass on it and see what other people have said. And so far it seems like it's not doing so well as a palette, so I'm sticking with my OG Modern Renaissance. And then lastly, I don't know exactly if this would be included as an eyeshadow palette, but these are my ride or dies for sure. It's a mix of mostly Makeup Geek eyeshadows and then some overshadows and then a few MAC, but mostly Makeup Geek, especially for the shimmers. My favorite thing about these eyeshadow palettes is that you can coordinate them into looks, you can move them, they come out of the palette, they're nice. The matte ones from Makeup Geek are individually $5, and then the ones on top, the ones that are shimmered, that are foiled, are $10 each. I've spent way too much money on Makeup Geek, but I feel like it's an investment because these are like the only shadows that I really like to use. Ever since I've gotten these, I've stopped purchasing eyeshadow palettes because every time I look at an eyeshadow palette, I look at what I have in my own collection, and I'm saying to myself, well, I already have these shades, I already have these looks, I can already create these looks if I wanted to, so why spend $40 to $50 on another eyeshadow palette that's just going to go in the drawer and never to be used and never to be seen again? Whereas I spent a little bit of extra money on the Z palette and the single eyeshadows to choose the colors that I wanted and the colors that would suit my skin tone, and so that I actually use it. So I think it's a toss-up. If you want to make an investment in your eyeshadow and your makeup, I think it could be worthwhile. And this is the last one that I have, and it's kind of my blues and pinks. Obviously some of the colors I don't use, like a lot of the like more brighter shades I don't always use, but I have found that there's certain shades like Peach Smoothie, Shimma Shimma, Cupcake, Vanilla Bean are all shades that I've used and all hit pan on, and I've actually had to buy and repurchase new ones. So I definitely believe in Makeup Geek products. I think they're really blendable. Sometimes they're a little bit more expensive, but like I said, it's an investment into something that you like. So my camera just kind of died when I was filming the last part of that video, but I hope you guys like this kind of eyeshadow palette review and decluttering. Yeah, that's it. Have a great day, and if you'd like, feel free to like and subscribe. I'll be posting every Tuesday and Saturday, or trying to, so anyways, have a great day. Bye.